Section 10.9, renting or owning a home. What we're going to do today is calculate the average monthly cost of renting, compare it to total cost of owning a home. So a couple of questions. These are probably short answer questions right here. Why do people rent homes? And I gave you a few. Can't afford to buy a home right now. Homes are expensive. Maybe you're not going to stay in this particular place very long and you wouldn't want to. Maybe you don't like the responsibilities that go with it, like fixing or buying a new water heater when it goes out, or mowing the lawn, or taking care of things that you have to fix, things like that. The advantages of renting: you don't have to make a down payment. There's no unplanned housing expenses, because if something breaks, then your person that you rent from has to fix it. And you don't have to sell before moving. The one downfall, though, is you do have to sign a lease, right, to rent an apartment. So if you sign a 1-year lease and you move out before that, you either have to pay rent until that lease is over, or find someone to move into your place that will take care of the rest of it. So don't do a lease that's longer than what you want to stay there for. That would be a disadvantage. Here's some more disadvantages. There's no federal income tax benefits, which most of the time, if you're renting, that's probably not one that you're really worried about when you're 19 or 20 or whatever years old. You don't build up any equity in the home or apartment you're renting. So again, when you're younger, you can't afford to buy a house, so it's something that you don't think about. You do have to pay a security deposit plus the first month's rent when you actually sign a lease. So also, if you have pets, you might have to pay a little bit more than that. And you have to kind of watch for places that actually take pets. So security deposit, and what's the security deposit for? No, security deposit when you move into an apartment. What's that for? They have a little extra money if you leave without paying or whatever. They're not like they're going to not find you, but it's mainly for if you wreck stuff that you haven't disclosed to the owner. Then they pay for instance, replacing some vinyl in the kitchen, or cleaning the carpets because they're really dirty, or stuff like that. So it's just extra money that they can use to fix stuff once you're gone. Maybe they have to pay somebody to paint the apartment because the walls have holes, or whatever. That's what they use it for. The costs of renting: monthly rent, renter's insurance, and definitely when you guys move into a place, if you have things like computers, stereos, things like that, big TVs, you probably want to do renter's insurance in case something happens to those items. Loss of interest on the security deposit. So they include loss of interest because if you would have that money that you had to pay them for security deposit in an account that gained interest, you're losing interest there. Okay. Or some of you might have just had it sitting in your checkbook though, and there's no interest on that. So, but they include that on this one. The utilities that you have to pay. And then as the cost of living increases, so does the rent. Mainly with renting, if they up your rent, they can't just say 2 days from when rent is due, oh, by the way, your rent's going to be $100 more now. They have to give you proper notice so that you can kind of plan a little bit for it. Usually, I think it's at least a couple months in advance so that you know when you have to come up with extra money. And usually they're not going to bump it up like $100 just like that. You'll have some indication of when that's going to happen. Here's some disadvantages of buying a home. You have to pay closing costs. They might be up front. They might be mixed in with the mortgage that you have. A home may increase or decrease in value depending on the market conditions. So you might buy a house at a certain amount, and then when you're ready to sell it, maybe the market is down and you don't make quite as much money. Obviously, when you're buying a home, if you are going to sell it, you want to make more money than what you bought it for to make money. The monthly mortgage payment will stay the same for the life of the loan. So that's something that can be a good thing, but maybe can be a bad thing if you are struggling to make the payments and things like that. Comparing costs of renting versus buying isn't easily computed, so they're doing the best they can in this section. We're going to do the total annual cost divided by the number of months. Here's our example. Mike plans to rent an apartment for $675 a month. The security deposit is 1 month's rent. He estimates that the annual expenses will be shown as in the table on page 399. What is the average? So let's look at the table on 399. So they kind of put each of those into a table. So one of them that you would have to calculate is the rent, $675 times 12. They're going to do that for a year. So they have $8,100 for that. Loss of interest, $28. Rent as insurance, $320. Electricity, $1,280. Heating, $1,500. Phone, internet, cable TV, $1,255. And then cell phone, $848. So they're adding all those together, and they get $13,331. The average monthly cost then would be $13,331 divided by 12. Which is 1,110.92. Okay, so all of those things being included, you add them all together. Sometimes you're going to have to calculate a few of them, and I'll show you that in a second. But then divided by 12. They probably won't give you any that are strictly monthly except for maybe rent. On the test, there might be some that you calculate. If there are, there will be blanks left open in the table like there is. That's about all I can think of. So they're not going to be super difficult to do. Find the total divided by 12. If there are any that you have to calculate, give me those amounts. So on this one, they calculated the rent. The rest of them were just given to you. I would want $8,100 on your paper somewhere. You don't necessarily have to show me what you did, but give me those amounts just so I know you calculated them correctly.